Hello, how are you? And nice meeting you. Tell us your name and where are you from?
I'm Karin. I'm from the Netherlands.
Okay, and I saw you're a volunteer
Yes.
with Ebenezer Operation Exodus. Tell us what is the mission of your organization and what do you do here?
We are a Christian organization. We work in more than 50 countries. We have been doing this for 30 years. And we see it as our mission as Christians to help the Jews go home to the Promised Land.
Wow. So this is why the name is based on the Exodus in the Bible.
Yes.
Wow, amazing. Thank you for your work. So what have you been doing here in Medica?
We're looking for people that need help. We do help Jews, but we don't only help Jewish people. We help people that are maybe elderly, in a wheelchair, or have small babies. And for them it's not good to go to the center in Tesco.
Yeah.
Because it's so crowded and the children cannot find their rest. And we have a hotel. We stay there with a few volunteers. And for the rest we have rooms for refugees that really need special treatment.
Yeah. And you know there are many Christians being persecuted in China because in communist China there's no religious freedom. People could be jailed and arrested and tortured for openly worship God and carrying a copy of Bible. And so we, the new Chinese people from the new federal state of China, we're trying to help the Chinese people to have the exodus from the communism, from the slavery.
Yes, I'm aware of the situation of the Chinese brothers and sisters, and we've been praying for them for a long time. We sometimes help also financially when there's a project or when they want to bring Bibles into China. There's even a Dutch organization that tries to go there and encourage the Christians in China. So yes, and all over the world, of course, not just in China, but in many countries it's not allowed to be worshipping Jesus freely.
So, you know, especially in communist China, because this is the world's most populated country. 1.4 billion human beings are deprived of their human rights to worship, to the religious freedom. And so Chinese people are now being very worried about their identity because many people confused the Chinese Communist Party, the dictatorship with the Chinese people, because we were very unfortunately being misrepresented by the Chinese Communist Party. And so the new federal state of China represents the new Chinese people and try to tell people that the CCP does not represent the government, the Chinese government that does not represent the Chinese people. So what do you have to say about the Chinese people who are struggling to be free, to have freedom?
Yes, I would say always be brave and always fight for your rights. And you want your children, your grandchildren to have a better life, like everybody in the world. And keep fighting for that. And some people will have to pay the cost. Some people will go to prison. But in the end, I think it's worth, because otherwise generations will not have that freedom.
So what can the Chinese people learn from the Jewish people during their process of going through the Exodus? Like what kind of price they have paid and what kind of cost have they endured in order to be free?
Well, that's funny. You just saw my colleague and she just said to me, we can dance and rejoice because in Jesus Christ we already have the victory. And although there's now a war going on in Ukraine, when we dance and sing and have fun together, we joke a lot. And I said, how can we joke and have fun and laugh and enjoy the food that is here when there's a war going on and people are suffering? And she said, well, it's because we celebrate our victory already. And I think that's really precious. We already celebrate the victory that we have through Jesus Christ. And we don't see it now. We hope it comes soon. But even if it doesn't, it will come. And I think the Jewish people do the same. They rejoice because they trust in the promises of Adonai. And the other thing she said, so if we start being gloomy and sad, we really resign. We have a resignation to our defeat, and then we are defeated. So I thought that was really good. Stand in the victory because we are victorious and we will have the victory.
Thank you very much. Right now, millions, hundreds of millions of Chinese people are going through a very hard time during the lockdown. People are deprived of food, water, and their living condition is less than the animal that we see here crossing the border. And so they need to hear encouraging words, like you just said. They need everybody's prayer and support because it's very hard.
Yes, it's a pity that indeed in the whole world there are people that don't have the things like even the animals. I used to live in Morocco, and once I tried to explain to my neighbor about the animal ambulance, and I could not explain it, not because I did not speak the language, but to her that was such a different, weird concept that there's actually, you can call somebody to come pick up an animal that has had an accident. So she could not understand, because even I said, well, the ambulance for the animals will not be there. Maybe it takes half an hour to get there, and the human ambulance should be there within 6 to 12 minutes. And she said, well, in Morocco we can be glad if the human ambulance is here within 2 hours. So that's really, in our countries, we buy toys and clothes for our animals. And in some other countries, they don't have toys for the kids and they can't buy them new clothes all the time. So it's really weird to see that some animals here have it better than some humans elsewhere.
Yeah.
Sad.
Yeah.
Very sad.
Very sad. And especially during the Christmas, many Christmas trees and ornaments were actually made in the by the prisoner labor of the persecuted Christians. They were considered slave labor, cheap labor, and those products are being sold in many Western countries. So this is something we hope that can raise more awareness. Like the Chinese people also need the international community support to be free from communism, from the slavery, so that they can also exodus. They can also enjoy the equal support from you, people like you, your organization, to help the Chinese people to take down the Chinese Communist Party so they can be free.
Yes, I agree that the Chinese people can have their exodus from the communism and go into their promised land, which is live in freedom.
Yeah. Their promised land is printed on my hat, the new federal state of China. That's the promised land for the new Chinese people.
Very good. Yes, I like that name.
Yeah. Thank you. And any more words you'd like to share with our brothers and sisters in China?
Just take courage. The end of the time is near and Jesus will come back to reign as King of Kings.
Okay. Thank you.